I pulled out of Pittsburgh, rolling down the eastern seaboard.
Hello everyone, Kirk here with Kirk's Motorrad shop in Crystal Lake, Illinois. As you can see, I am not in Crystal Lake, Illinois. I am currently riding on the Foothills Parkway in Tennessee, going north. Am I going north? No, I think I'm going south actually. It doesn't even matter. I don't even care what direction I'm going. It's just a beautiful road on a beautiful day. It's about 82, 83 degrees right now. And yeah, just taking a nice cruise, and I thought, you know, it's a perfect time to tell my story. So, taking this all the way back to when I was a little kid, I was always fascinated with cars and trucks, you know, as most little boys are. And you know, about the time I was in grade school is when that show, that great educational show, The Dukes of Hazzard, came on. And as the Dukes of Hazzard, you know, I just loved the General Lee. That I didn't care a whit about Catherine Bach and her character, you know, Daisy. She was like a kind of a distraction. I really wanted to just see the General Lee more than anything. Bo and Luke, it was fun. You know, Boss Hogg and Roscoe with his antics, and I know a lot of you guys out there know the passion of watching the Dukes of Hazzard. Well, you know, it was really in my formative years of driving and sliding around corners, all that kind of stuff. Driving fast, running from the law. I just loved it. So, you know, and then after the Dukes of Hazzard, you know, that show Chips was on, and that was always stunt motorcycle riding and just crazy stuff. And then what was the other show that was really popular? Oh yeah, the Knight Rider. Knight Rider came on there. That was in the late 80s, or in the early 80s. But it was like right there when my 16 to 18 year old self, and I was you know, had to mimic that stuff. So that's where I kind of brought up. So I brought up with this love of speed and all things racing, and I got into wrenching. Actually paid for my first bicycle, my own. You know, it was, and good God, that thing was just like my link to life. I could get anywhere on that bike. My mom would tell me stuff like, you know, I don't care where you ride, you can ride to hell and back as long as you just let me know where you're going, and you know, try to be back by dark or something. So I did. I would ride for just so many miles, and longing for the day that I could ride something else. And my first motorcycle I bought in 1989. I bought a Honda Pacific Coast, so the PC 800. You guys can maybe see here on the screen what that used to look like. And bought a white one, and it was a lot like the LT in that, you know, looking back on it, because it had all those fairings, all those coverings, and I rode that thing. I didn't even really ride a whole set of tires out of it, but I thought that I was riding that thing forever. You know, I saw some guys once riding on the interstate, going down 55, going down to St. Louis, and they were riding, I think, Goldwing interstates. And I'm like, oh, that would be really cool if I could ride like that. So I, you know, bought that Pacific Coast, and I did that, but it was just monumentally uncomfortable. You know, I thought that the Germans were terrible with seats. I think that the Japanese might actually be worse. That seat was not made for anybody that should have ever had the shape of a butt. No. Anyways, so I carved the seat out. I made it my own. Got the thing kind of to be as comfortable as I could. And then I had my first son, and then pretty much riding stopped for a long time, because I had to watch my son, and I had to pay attention to the wife, and then some other children came along, and like it was just life got in the way. And I know that I'm singing to the choir here, because so many of you guys have experienced the same thing in life, or, you know, you're really enjoying stuff as a single man, and then you get married, and then you have children, and then the life changes, and you just can't do the same things anymore. And it's frustrating, but it's the way life goes. So I got rid of the PC800, and then wound up, eventually into a divorce, and became single again. And once I became single again, well, then I took up riding again. And I'm not sure where Flats Road goes. Maybe I wanted to go that way, I don't know. Anyway, so I took up riding again. I picked up a Suzuki Boulevard, a C50T. And, really was doing the cruiser thing. Just like the cruiser. It was pretty comfortable. It ran like a sewing machine on the road, though. So, you get the thing over 65 miles an hour, and it sounded like it's doing 9,000 RPMs because the gearing's so low in that very underpowered engine. And I just never really thought getting into that as much as possible. And then in 2011, I picked up my first BMW, and that was that gray, basalt gray LT, the 2000 LT that you guys are so familiar with it by watching some of my videos. It's featured in so many videos, and it's even on my torque spec poster, which, by the way, you can buy on eBay. It's down in the link down in the description below. If you have an LT, and I know so many of you guys that have LTs have watched my LT videos and enjoyed those. Had that bike for 13 years, and so once I got the LT, I met up with this club that I'm involved in. So the BMW Motorrad Club of Northern Illinois, which I'm still currently the president of. At the time that I started, though, there was a gentleman named Gerhard, and Gerhard was like around 70 years old at the time that I met him, and he was German with a capital G. And I started riding with him on my LT, and immediately I knew I had to step up my game, because I had just come off of that cruiser, so I had kind of that cruiser mentality of everything was slow, everything was just kind of easy riding and no big deal, and this guy rides like a true European maniac, and we're passing every vehicle, everything on the road, and I literally am like sweating bullets. And he would say to me when we'd finally stop somewhere, he'd be like, "Kirk, you everything that is on the road must be passed, whether it is trees or it is cars or trucks, it does not matter, this must be passed." And yeah, I stepped up my game hard, and I loved it. Just reawakened my blood in me, my racing blood, and I'm like, that's it, the hell with that cruiser mentality. I like riding fast, and he would call it spirited. Kirk, we ride spirited. So I would ride spirited, and I still ride spirited, and I just love it. I love leaning like this and just going around corners fast. And my son, who's with me right now, he's behind me on his GT. He's got a 1600 GT. He rides just as hard as I do, and there's nothing that I do that he can't replicate. His reactions are amazing, because he's in his 30s, and just fantastic rider. Just really enjoy riding with him, and he'll probably watch this video, I would assume, or not. It doesn't matter. But that's kind of my story. You guys know the wife that I'm married to. She's a beast when it comes to her strength. She's can lift up that LT. She throws things around. We even got her a new bike right now. Just this last weekend, we got her. One of our members was selling an F800 GT, so picked that up, and hopefully she's riding it right now as I'm out here in Tennessee with my son. Hopefully she's back at home and actually on her bike a little bit. She needs to ride more. She needs to get out there by herself some more, and realize what that thing can do. I put some super sticky tires on that bike, and I'm hoping she runs them out to the edges. I put some racing tires on it, not slicks, but ones that have just a really sticky compound. I don't expect them to last more than 3,000 or 4,000 miles. But hey, I know a guy that works on the bike and can change tires. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this story of mine. And if you got any questions or comments, please leave them down in the description below. And by all means, check out those links that are right down in that description. You can see how you can help me with this channel. And what it supports me is just, it helps me kind of pay for the time that I spend in making these videos. Maybe not this video, because this video is all on me. But the videos where I am wrenching on stuff, that takes a lot of editing, a lot of work, and you know, it really just takes time away from other things that I probably could or should be doing. So yeah, any kind of help, it's very appreciated. Guys, thanks so much for watching this. Enjoying the Foothills Parkway in Tennessee, and do come out and enjoy this road you're on your own someday if you get a chance. So this is just an amendment to my video of my story. I forgot to tell you guys how I got to be doing what I do, my job experience. So being that I, you know, loved vehicles and loved cars and loved everything that had to do with them, well, I always wanted to make things go faster. I started wrenching on stuff at a very early age. In fact, it got to be quite a problem for my dad, because I would you know, take his tools, and because I was a kid, I would forget to put them away, and boy, would that ever upset him. So much so that he put a lock on his toolbox. He put one of those like hasp blocks, you know, with a padlock. So I did the right thing, and I took a file and I gently cut away the pin so that he couldn't even notice that the thing was open. And I would remove the pin, and I would go back in and use his tools, and you know, I try to remember to put them all back, and usually I didn't, or one day I forgot to put the pin back in there, and he found it that way, and yeah, he was pretty hot, understandably, because you know, I'm taking his tools without his permission, but I had to wrench, just had to wrench. So you know, being that I did that, and finally started getting my own tools, and I would, you know, spin my wrenches on my bicycle. Of course, my first car, I had to do that, and it was a truck. My first vehicle was a 76 Datsun pickup truck, and it was really rusty. It didn't really need a lot of work because it was a Datsun. But hey, I had the shiniest rust and the best running rust around. You know, then I had some other cars, of course, through that time period. One of them that I had was a 73 Chevelle. I found it in a junkyard in the back of a gravel pit, and had a blown engine. So I picked that thing up for next to nothing. I think it was $150 for the car. And I went to a junkyard and I found a 400 big block, and I took that thing completely all the way down to nothing and rebuilt the whole thing and put that in the car. And I drove that car for over 100,000 miles. It had a turbo 400 transmission in it, so it, you know, those transmissions are pretty bulletproof, and with the horsepower that I was applying to it, it really wasn't that big of a deal for that car. So I wasn't breaking any parts. And you know, so once I did that, I just love wrenching. And we'll take it forward all the way to my BMW days. So you know, in 2011, like I said, I bought that LT, and I honestly, like many of you, had no idea whatsoever, not any, even the slightest clue. There's quite the cars going by, on how to take the thing apart. And so I started looking on YouTube, and there was not one video on YouTube on how to take it apart. So I bought a climber manual and looked through it, and I read a lot on the LT forum on how to take it apart. And I'm like, you know what? I might as well start making videos on how to do this. Not to monetize the videos or anything, or just to help guys like you out. So that's really where I got my start doing this stuff. So I don't have any formal training. I don't have any formal training on, you know, from BMW or anything like that. I'm absolutely self-taught when it comes to my mechanical abilities, which has kept me loving what I do. And I really do enjoy working on these bikes. I work on everything from 95 forward up to today, and I will be glad to work on your bike, all of them. I just really like it. So if you do want me to work on your bike, do hit me up at an email, kirk@kirksmotorrad.com, or you can hit me up on my contact page at kirksmotorrad.com. We'll schedule to get your bike in, get it worked on, and who knows, maybe you're going to see your bike on my lift. You'll be able to see your passion in this fashion. How about that? So guys, take care. Thanks for listening to my long diatribe. And oh, by the way, this is now the Cherahula Skyway down in Tennessee. And you know what, maybe I'll just let it run out. I'll just stop talking and you guys can just enjoy the ride. Take care.